Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Living Tasawwuf. Welcome to Living Islam. And today we conclude this fascinating journey into something that hardly anybody speaks about. The times of the prayers, as you notice, differently. Prepare yourself to go along with the journey to which Ibn al-Arabi is inviting us to go. To appeal to the intellect in this case will be to repeat our routines. He's going to give us a complete different description of what is this thing of the sun and the earth moving around each other. He doesn't care about the astronomical whether who is rotating to whom, but the fact that we as human beings, what we observe is the sun going round. It doesn't mean this is the astronomical definition, this is the observation of us. And he's going to invite us to look at the matter entirely different. You want to understand? Relax the brain and enter into what he's saying. Today, as a closing day, we're going to review the fundamental ideas, and so therefore today perhaps is the most important day. We are going to summarize what the Shaykh is presenting to us and see whether we are capable of understanding and take benefit from it, that it will improve our Salat and it will improve our awareness of Allah. The first thing that we can say about this text of the secrets of Salat, which is part of the Futuhat al-Makkiyah, is the first invitation is to avoid a rational interpretation of time, and he proposes that the Salat is the true clock of life. Not the watch that you have in your wrist, or the numbers that appear in your mobile phone, but the Salat is the true clock. So that is that the prayer times are not things to fit in the other things we do when we organize our day. Is that, this is breakfast time, this is the time to send the children to the school, and then you have lunch time, you have to work, this is the time for this, and then you fit the salats in between. That would be the rational thing to do. But what the Shaykh says is that this time, these prayer times, they are the frame, they are the clock, that gives each part of the day its meaning. Wow, that's quite something. Ibn al-Arabi then treats Waqt as a condition of the prayer itself. So it's the time acquires a highlight, a meaning, in the time prescribed for the salats. Each of these waqt carries what he calls the dominance of a name of Allah and an accompanying, aligning inner state. What does it change, this view? Well, plan the day around the 5 awqat. The 5 prayers. These are the center of the day, and then everything else fits around it. Treat the time in between the prayers as a space in which you become aware of your heart and you keep changing the heart. Remember, the very condition of the heart is changing. Activate your heart. In each one of these moments, something is indicated, and this is what the Shaykh is going to bring about. Understanding and use it. This whole interpretation of the prayer as presented, he calls it ittibar, and it means looking into the signs and find the meaning. Is the itibar, therefore, he would say, of the prayers is to try to understand how these time affect us. And therefore, an invitation to align ourselves with these 5 spots during the day and night, in the cycle of day and night, that it will give us understanding. It will align us with reality, with ourselves, with what is happening to you, instead of being lost into some other activities, the nature of which maybe or may not be in remembrance of Allah. So this is a kind of like, remember, this cycle of day and night doesn't happen for anything. It has a meaning. That's itibar. So it's like a crossing from the outward perception of the sun and the light and the shadows into the inner meaning. Things like gratitude, humility, watchfulness. Quite something. It's quite an invitation. And you have to allow yourself this thing to happen, as we have been describing over the last few weeks, in order to get the grasp of what the Shaykh is saying. For example, before Dhuhr, prepare yourself for that moment. It's a moment in which the sun is in the zenith. It's the time of maximum light, representing the manifestation in its multiplicity. It's like the awakening of the senses in a maximal way. It's look what Allah is capable of doing. Then the night will come, and all the things like a kind of Allah puts the light off. Okay? In the days in which we didn't even have electrical light, that meant true darkness. And then everything shuts down, and that means at the moment of from the multiplicity, everything just comes down. It's an invitation to recall yourself in the unity. It's a time of intimacy and tears and so on. So the Dhuhr, in that moment of Dhuhr, what the Shaykh says, this is the moment of shukr. You activate the shukr, the thankfulness of everything Allah is giving you. And to align your heart with thankfulness, it will allow you to understand. And when the Asr time arrives, it's like you see the veiling starts to happen. It's like, this is the light starts to descend. It's like a preparedness for that moment of that event that is taking place. This is a reflection that it is intended to change the state of your heart. Imagine that this becomes itself a cycle itself. And this is the second important point. First one, Salat is the true clock of life. Second, there is a virtuous cycle between day and night. A virtuous cycle, that means, you know what a vicious circle is that the things that bring you down are worse and worse and worse. This makes you better and better and better and better and better. As if one feeds the other in order to arrive to a higher state. And then the night comes that kind of feeds you and prepares you to the day to come in a continuous of manifestation by plurality, enhancing, calling you to look into the sensory and the forms, and a moment of closing down in which you are invited to go back to the essence, to return to Allah in intimacy, and as he says, tears. And imagine this cycle happens for a purpose. That Allah has created the world with this strange way of light, darkness, light, darkness, light, darkness, punctuated by these prayers. And if you want to align yourself with this, instead of being in complete ghafla, either you I don't care, it's just accidental. It's not accident. The Shaykh is saying this is not an accident. This has a meaning. And it has a purpose. And there are indications that to recognize this in these signs, that's what he calls itibar. So the key point here in this notion of a virtuous cycle of day and night is that the day trains the heart for the night, and the night purifies the heart for the day, in a continuous loop, until death. That's life. A continuous day, night, day, night, day, night, day, night, day, night. And Maghrib and Fajr are the two Barzakhs, situated in, if you want to align the time with the sun, if you imagine, if you calculate it in degrees, the sunrise will be 0 degrees and sunset will be 180 degrees in relation to the horizontal plane of the horizon, what we see as plane. 0 degrees and 100 degrees, the Barzakhs, day and night. And these two, they join the loops. It is a moment, return, emergence, return, emergence, return, emergence. You are the Barzakh between these two. One takes you from the emergence, the day, the manifestation, to the butun, the hidden, and then back again. These Barzakhs between emergence to the return, and then the return, Fajr, to from the return back to the emergence, and then emergence, return, and so on. And this is how the thing keeps moving like a loop. It's a virtuous circle because one is meant to feed the other. It's a pattern that Ibn al-Arabi presents as a growth pattern. It is meant for you to become closer and closer and closer and closer. If the evening, the night, is the time of brokenness and intimacy that starts at Maghrib and then deepens in presence all the way to the Salat al-Subuh Fajr. So the night ripens gratitude. Is a moment of intimacy and also forgiveness. And as he defines, I think more clear than anything, is a time of tears. That's the night. And that is what prepares to then bring yourself, prepare yourself to, I have failed you, but tomorrow I will obey you, and I will be better than ever before, so that then you, in the clarity of the day, then you throw and then you manifest what you have indicated and what you have promised to Allah. And then you fail. And you fail again, and you ask for forgiveness, and then you say, but no, I couldn't do it today. I was coward. I could have done better, but I didn't. But tomorrow I will be better. This is taqwa. This is where taqwa helps you to become better and better and better and better. You put that motor in circulation, and every day becomes now the opportunity to do what you didn't do before. A renewal, a continuous return to Allah, and coming forward to do the things that you have as a servant, as a slave of Allah. Amazing. Beautiful. Imagine this rotor keeps going. You have nothing but growth. Continuous growth. To live without awareness of these, it makes you feel when you read Mulli al-Arabi al-Darqawi. I mean, when we read Ibn al-Arabi, and even Mulli al-Arabi al-Darqawi also, because it's the same teaching, then you are continuously in a virtuous circle. Day and night doesn't have for anything. It's a virtuous circle of growth, of proximity. Do you see it? Feel it. Embody it. And then you will understand. These are not ideas. These are experiences that you acquired by taste. And that's what the Shaykh is inviting us to do. Then, a third key to understand the secrets of the times, as he calls it. As I said, the first one, which is the key of all of them, is that the Salat is the true clock of life. Then there is a virtuous cycle between the day and night. It doesn't happen for nothing. It keeps going until you die. Now, the third element is that this cycle of day and night has a mirror into a heart cycle. It's the combination of the two ideas, right? Is that there is the day and night, day and night, day and night, day and night. I mean, then in the heart, what happens to you? There is also a cycle. Because this is the meaning of aligning yourself to the meaning of these events. I told you something like taqwa, for example. Taqwa is during all day. You don't switch off from taqwa, but there is a moment, in that moment of night, of intimacy, is you align yourself with it, because it's the moment in which you are not distracted. You're not busy doing these things, sending the kids to the school and going here and going there and paying the bills. And it's a moment. It's halwa. My Shaykh used to say every night is halwa. Halwa, what is halwa? Halwa is to prepare the ideal conditions for you to focus, to become intimate, to become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by means of the prayer and dhikr, by remembering Allah. If you are not distracted, it helps. How do I know it helps? Because it has helped people before us for hundreds of years. So the beginning of the halwa, which technically is 40 days in isolation, is every night. And for the people who have wisdom, they can make halwa even if they're in the middle of the bus, because they don't get distracted. They just do everything that we do outwardly by setting someone in a cave or in a place isolated, like Rasul Sallallahu did. You can do it during the day just by means of gathering yourself and seeing Allah only. But that's an advanced proposal. So the key to these cycles of the heart and how to align the time with the cycles of the heart is to realize that the sun, the position of the sun, there are signs known and they are defined by the Salat. So the Salat is what marks these key points. And what the Shaykh proposes is that these moments, they reflect in changes in the heart. To become aware of the changes of the heart, is a necessity, because you want to make your heart flexible. You want to be able to activate your heart, to become aware of the heart, and to say, you can move it. Like those of you who participated in the Darker Way, we were speaking about the dials. That you can move from the opposites are not fighting each other. So in order to understand high, you need to understand low. If you want to understand richness, you have to understand poverty. So if you were, for example, to only understand high, it will become meaningless. You need low in order to understand high. And that means that these are dials that you lean. And the wisdom is to be able to activate the heart by means of leaning. You lean towards one side, and then you see everything different. And you can, for example, decide, I am rich, even though materially you have nothing. And a person who has everything can feel poor if he doesn't know how to control the heart. And so the controlling of the heart changes the meaning of things. It's cognitive. But these dials are not just one. There are many of them. And they overlap and they create complexities. So what you move from one side to the other, you can do it on account of several layers. Each one indicating like a different dimension of knowledge, like 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions. It gets huge. And to be able to activate the heart, then it becomes the key to cognition. So the key is we activate the heart, which is a big deal. It's a huge, huge thing. But imagine that this alignment of the heart it aligns itself in time. Also, not just in the meaning, but there is a time in which you are inclined to move from one state to the next. We have been looking over the last few days on this. In the Fajr, is the governing, you call it governing divine name is Nur, inviting to watchfulness and gratitude. In Dhuhr, Zahir, manifestation, invited to clarity and awe. Asar is Batin and Akhir, meaning the beginning of concealment is the time of patience. Maghrib, al-Wahid, return to unity, need, ʿIshaa, al-Batin, and al-Ghafur, hiddenness, intimacy, forgiveness, taqwa. So between the prayers, he says, there is an indivisible instant, a barzakh. A barzakh, so that its time is the beginning of a new type of adab, defined by the events that they are as they are happening to you. So the practical side of this is to become aware of the outward signs, be aware of the time, and reflect or set an inward transformation, or in other words, aligning your heart to these signs. And this is on account of these Dhuhr, Asar, if Dhuhr, brightness, and thankfulness for everything Allah has given to you. Look at what an immense world Allah has given you. Thankfulness. Thankfulness is so much wisdom. That is something you want to be reminded of all the time. Especially as you run around in the world and you driven by what I don't have, I have to get something. Imagine that, well, all these things are attacking you, is you align yourself with the notion of what Allah has given you, and to be thankful in comparison to what Allah gives you. Everything else is poor. He is rich. If you are thankful to Him, you are, for example, thankful to everything He gives you, you are saturated. You become rich. For example, as something as simple as breathing air. To be thankful for breathing air. It changes the meaning of everything. So when even in Arabic is saying, an ad-dukur sukur, it doesn't mean, okay, now I understand. That's why I said, don't try to understand. That doesn't mean you kind of have to hammer your head. It means stimulate, allow the heart to recognize what that means. Shukr is huge. And when is the Shaykh saying that it's more recommended? In the moment of a maximum explosion of everything around you. When the sun is at its highest and is illuminating everything, it's showing His kingdom. Either be thankful, don't be greedy. And so that the times become aligned with the signals, it will enhance the quality of your life, and it will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At ʿIshaa, in the middle of the night, in the first third of the middle of the night, we will come to this. Hiddenness, intimacy, forgiveness, taqwa. At that point, forgiveness. At that time, taqwa. And taqwa is, my Shaykh used to say, is to realize that it doesn't matter what you've done. You is a failure because you have not treated Allah in the way He deserves. And you will not receive the garden, the reward, if it wasn't because of Him. It's like you're in His hands completely. And this is the time for the night to say, as I said earlier, I failed, but tomorrow I will. Tomorrow, forgive me. Tomorrow I will. And then you do, and you fail, and you return, and so on. So the inward intention is highlighted according to the moment of the day. Again, highlighting the notion that this day cycle mirrors a heart cycle. It's immense. Try it and you will see. If it doesn't give you goosebumps, you haven't got yet. It's huge. Huge as in huge. As in, dear God, how can anyone live without this understanding? Well, the two things that they are important in this topic are two more things, of which I have spoken a little bit and it's got to grasp it fully, and that's it. There are many, many more things. Anyone who says this is a summary of these letters on the secret of Salat will say, but hey, so you have left 80% off. Yes, I know. But I'm presenting to you, in my opinion, what are the things that they are important, the one things that you can't do without. Well, The fourth element that I consider important is what I call to honor the two Barzakhs. Barzakhs meaning like the twilight, the moment, the turning point. And this is Maghrib and Fajr, the 0 degrees and the 180 degrees. Because even in Arabic it says this is where the heart changes the fastest. Is the moment of turning. To him, Maghrib is the threshold of return. Your return. The day collapses into night, forms sink, and the return to unity. From the forms and the variations, everything just kind of falls down. It's not that they are not there. It's like folding, switching off. He said, you enter into the state, and this is the turning in Maghrib, to neediness and brokenness. You pray in a very short period of time. It's like is a moment in the day and night cycle. It's a very important day, sunrise and sunset, no? And he calls Maghrib the witr of the day. You know, there is a witr at night, which is 3 prayers. Actually, this is the witr of the day, although technically it's the night. These 2 witrs happen at night. But one is the Maghrib. He calls it because it's a turning point. You know, you can see still the sunset, but there's still a little bit of luminosity in the air. So there is a witr as well. And then Fajr. Fajr is the threshold of emergence. You know, you come from the night opens today. The world, as if the world reappears. I say, but hey, the world is always there. You're not understanding, even Al-Arabi. It's not that he's not aware of that, okay? It's that he's inviting you to reflect on the signs. He says this initiates the process of the time of gratefulness and watchfulness. You are entering into the zone of everything comes into your presence. Everything can be done. Be grateful and be aware. Here, the emphasis is on the intention. You have to do a lot of things, but what gives meaning to this period of time is your intention. Watch. Be watchful of your intention. And the key to transform this watchfulness and the intention to purify your intention is thankfulness. He even says, this is like a new creation comes to you. Now, there is something very deep about this, much, much deeper than anything that you can imagine. Like a new creation indeed, like, you know, the time of the night, it's like a dying, a closing down of the day. If you see day and night like a lifetime, this is blank. Everything goes to 0. But now you have a new creation. And what does it mean, new creation? You know, I return, the house is in the same location and everything. But you can alter the meaning of it. The night has allowed you to recall, to change your state in a manner that is cognitive. And remember, you are the master of the world. That world that appears to you is whatever you like it to be. You can be a slave of it, or you can be the master of it. The night has helped you, has led you to be able to look at the world, and every day is a new creation, is a new world to you. The meaning of this is so immense that it is as big as you want it to be. You could say that the most important thing in transforming your life is the recognition, I'm not exaggerating, the recognition that every day is a new creation. So for Ibn Arabi, this is just a couple of sentences. For the people of understanding, for the seekers, that means you. Otherwise you won't be here. For you, this is big. It's an invitation to continuous renewal of your life. Imagine, it's like being born every week, every day, every 24 hours, every cycle of day and night. In that renewal from the intimacy and the coming closer together with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to explode into the world in which you manifest your thankfulness and you improve your intention to serve Allah. Wow! Every little event, every little turn, every little change in your heart will have an exponential effect in the transformation of the world. So you want to change the world. Many of you would desire that, I presume. If you want to change the world, change yourself, for God's sake. Because that transformation of yourself is more effective to the transformation of the world than anything that you can do with your hands. In the words of Muli al-Arabi Darkawi, our Shaykh, he says, if you knew the power of the heart, you will not bother with the power of the limbs. This is how intense it is. So, honor the two Barzakhs. This is a moment where you want to really pay your attention. Not that the others are not important, like some people suggest. These are fools. Even Al-Arabi is not saying that. Just pay attention. These two prayers are significant. Okay, and they represent an alignment. These two make understandable Dhuhr and Asr, as if sunrise, the zenith, 90 degrees, Asr 35 degrees, or 45 degrees against the sunset, and then sunset 180 degrees. And imagine that all these degrees is emergence, balance, veiling, and return. Wow. Okay. We have spoken about this, so I'm not going to go too far in this. And what are the key elements of this? Maghrib and Fajr. And they feel each other. Immense. Don't tell me that this is not immense. This is like huge. Like you will say to yourself, but why they don't teach this thing? Instead of insisting on the movements, why they don't teach this? Oh, that's a good question. I don't have the answer for that. And finally, the fifth element that I think summarizes and gives us a key, in my opinion, of this whole chapter about the times, and is the night prayers. The night prayers are huge. Huge. You can imagine, it's not that the others are not important, please, okay? The day prayers are just as important. But it's like saying, please pay attention to this. That's what he's saying. Pay attention to the night prayers. And the two important things here. There are quite a few things actually, but the ones I want to focus is the two witrs. Remember, Maghrib, which is technically night. So the night prayers are the obligatory are Maghrib, Isha, witr, the second witr, or the witr, the one that we normally want to witr, and Fajr. To him, as I have remind you before, the second witr, Maghrib being number one, is almost obligatory. It's like in the lowest level that you can put before it's absolutely obligatory. So he says something in the nature of, for the lovers is obligatory. Enjoy this night prayer. The night prayers are important. I'm telling you, they are important. If there is one thing you have to learn about this is wow, the prayers of the night. Aligning yourself with the prayers. Therefore, it becomes now the source of virtue. It's how you grow as a human. And now, during the night, you have these fantastic two prayers. One, Maghrib, and another one in the last third of the night. Just before Subuh. Okay? Just there. Enjoy them. Understand them. Embrace them. Become addicted to them. And you will have a huge transformation in your life at a cognitive level. And if you don't, you miss something very important. He says something, Allah is witr and He loves witr, in odd numbers. And he said, don't you see that Maghrib is alone there? It needs a pair. Well, I mean, I'm not going to go into all this. There's a huge chapter on this, but the key of the matter is there are two witrs. Do one, but if you're a lover, don't miss the second one. And then he recalls that the night is in 3/3. 3 parts. 1/3, which is the beginning of the night. So it's Maghrib. Maghrib is in this part because Maghrib is after sunset. So it's technically night. And ʿIshaa, it's Maghrib and then ʿIshaa fit into this first third. Finishes with the Salat al-ʿIshaa. Except the Salat al-ʿIshaa, it could be extended, but it is the ideal time in that first third. Maghrib and ʿIshaa. He says it's a time to recall events and images. And Hajal, to him, the word he uses is Hajal, is not like Wahm. Although some people call it imagination in English, and then it means Hajal and Wahm is the same, but it's not. Hajal is the capacity of man to see through images. That's what we do when we look into the world. We see images. The reality is not the images. This is only a representation. That's why what we see, it depends on us. If we were to remove of the world, dunya will be different. The Hajal is the faculty of imagining, and this is good. Wahm is when your capacity to imagine is deprived of meaning. At that point, it becomes just pure fantasy. And so to be in Wahm is a bad state. But Hajal is a condition. It's always like in that first third, things kind of open to you in a good way. Again, this Hajal at night is activated by rest. Resting, the word resting is an interesting word because Rasul Sallallahu said, when I pray, I rest. And to understand this, you have to understand that when Allah is real to you, the obligations are rest. When Allah is not real to you, the obligations are obligations. Said it in a different way, but if I hope you understand it, if the obligations are real, so this is speaking about the commands of Allah, for example, if they are real to you, meaning they are commands of Allah, it's like there is no choice on the matter, you understand? They are real. If Allah says, do this thing, it's like, this is what I have to do. When they are real, then the obligations are not obligations. They are joy, they are rest, they are easiness. I promise to you, you have to trust me on this, that when you reach this state, this world of vision appears. You can see things you couldn't see earlier. And it's at the rest of the home. If you make the Sharia, if you love the Sharia, as my Shaykh used to say, you will see things nobody else has. Either they are not there, because the people are not practicing them, you haven't done it yet, but you can see it. And it's simply because you are returning home, because you are calmed down. When you are busy with the stuff and doing things and going here and running from this place to the next, it's likely that you are you become distracted. But as you return and you rest, in that first stage, the rest, you start seeing things. It's quite something. So that creates a practical understanding of that first third of the night. And then he says, in the middle third, is the time of the presence of Allah. So it's kind of 1 degree up. Is presence, the presence of Allah means intimacy. You become closer. It's the time of unveiling. If you allow it to happen, your hajal, the return from here is huge. It changes the meaning of things. It's much deeper than just seeing it. It is the part where it says to you, and therefore I do it. This thing speaks to you in an intimate manner. It seals you to the knowledge, the openings that you are having. And it seals you by means of commitment, of clarity, of courage, as a result of the presence of Allah, to feel the real. Because of what I said. When Allah is real, the commands are not obligations. When Allah is real, the commands are guidelines. How can you ignore it? If you don't even know what the Sharia says, that's the first sign you don't care. But if you believe Allah is real, then to obey Allah, it becomes not only command as in command. It becomes a thankfulness. Oh Allah, thank you that you are giving me the guidance, that you are providing me the way to my own success. You see that? Well, Ibn al-Arabi says that the second third, the middle part of the night, hey, this is the moment. Depending on where you are, but about 2 a.m., think about that time for a couple of hours, depending on winter or summer. To tell you how important this is, when I became a Muslim, my Shaykh, one day, all of a sudden, with no warning, he says to me, by the way, don't waste your night sleeping all the time. He said, wake in the middle of the night and pray. Just like that. No warning, nothing. It was like, by the way, the things he used to say, the way he used to speak. And by the way, don't waste all your night sleeping. Wake up. So, I didn't know what he was talking about. But he said, he's told me to do it, so I do it. And I blind myself 2 a.m. because I thought this is fairly the middle of the night. And so I have time in the middle of the night. And I started doing this thing after my Shahada. And this was after Ramadan. So at the very, very early beginning, I knew nothing of anything. I didn't know Islam very well. No, not very well, no. Very little. But I was in full love of Allah. That's for sure. And so I fell in love with Allah before I fell in love with Islam. Even before I knew it. I only knew headlines. But I was in love with Allah. And that's undeniable. So what I started doing, put my clock to 2 a.m. And because it was after Ramadan, so I said, what I'm going to do Taraweeh. So I do the 20 rakah and then Fitr 23. From the first day I tried to do this, I couldn't pass the 4th rakat. My intention was big, innocent, perhaps, bold, but I couldn't pass from the 4th rakat. In the 4th rakat, I was in sajda and I was broken. I was just crying like a baby. I couldn't continue. I didn't find any reason to lift my head from the floor. So they are powerful. And I continued to this thing for months. They're big. Huge, huge, huge. And it changes the way you look at the world. It's like, as I said, the night prayers are big. Okay? This middle part, call it unveiling. This is the time for unveiling. Break everything out. That means falling in love with Allah with everything that you have. Abandon your will in Him. Abandon yourself into His hands. Feel His presence. And the last third, which is the moment of nearness. He says, if you just think that the middle of the night was amazing, he said the last third is the moment of nearness, as if it's like unfolding of that middle section is the nearness to Allah, and is the moment of dua. You are ready. Just ask for forgiveness. And it's also the time of the witr and of Fajr. Fajr, still, technically, you are still in the night. Maghrib, Isha, Nafila prayers, Witr, and Fajr. The night. And you will probably ask yourself, how do you sleep in this? How do you? I promise to you that you do. I was in the university in those days when I started. So to spend approximately 1 hour to 1 hour and a half every night, theoretically, is cutting my sleep fundamentally. No. I was so ready to everything. I have to admit that my time in the university and listening to biochemistry lessons is kind of lost its value fundamentally. But not because of lack of attention. It's because I was just thinking of when the next prayer is. I was obsessed. But I didn't feel I wasn't sleeping. Then I heard that the Shaykh of my Shaykh, Sidi Muhammad ibn Habib, slept only 10 minutes every day. I was so jealous. I said, wow, that's amazing, because 10... And the story goes that Sahabat, when he heard this thing from the Fuqara, he was in Maghrib, where Shaykh Muhammad al-Habib had his Zawiya, he said this is impossible. No person can sleep only 10 minutes. He will die. This is what they tell us. So Shaykh said, okay, I have to test this thing. I cannot repeat this thing without witnessing. So the house of the Shaykh al-Habib was in a tower in the first floor. So he kind of went to the tower. It's just kind of hide in between the first and the second floor, because he wanted to see what happens during all the night. And there he was in the stairs, and he saw the people coming in and out. He had divided the night into 4 parts. He had 4 wives. So in the first part, one came, then the next. So it guaranteed that there was activity all the time going on. And there was always lights and movement and things like that. So he couldn't sleep in these conditions. So the day came, and he thought nobody had noticed this, and either it was during Subuh or Maghrib, I don't remember. At some point during the day, Shaykh al-Habib calls Abdul Qadir, and he says, yes, come here, Abdul Qadir. Next time you're going to be by my door, just come in and stay with me. He said he died of shame. But the Shaykh replied with a smile to him. So he's like, okay, now you understand. Apparently, Shaykh al-Habib used to, between Dhuhr and Asr, to have like a siesta. But it consisted of, he was doing dhikr with the fuqara, and then for a few minutes, he would close the eyes and lean his head to one side, while the fuqara were still doing dhikr. And that was the sleep of the day. I haven't been able to arrive there, but I haven't been able to kind of manage this sleepy time. So one of the sayings of the Sufis is, eat little, speak little, and sleep little. Well, whatever. The thing is, it makes the time that you have to sleep far more productive, I would say. Don't fear that this is going to interrupt your life. It will not. It will enhance your life in so many different ways. And so it is that the night prayers, therefore, is something for you to embrace. It's not the time where you don't do anything. On the contrary, it's moments of full of activity. So, what can we summarize this in? How do we summarize this whole chapter? I would say the following. I would say reorder the command, the lesson, the practical value of what the Shaykh is saying. I would say let the awqat of Salat reorder your day. I think that's the headline. And that means that pay attention to what is happening to you. Pay attention to the day. Pay attention to the night. Make these changes that are happening around you to become the ordering of the day and your activities, both outwardly and inwardly. So whatever you have to do, your work blocks, fit them alongside with the prayers and the meals as well, and the time for rest as well. But let the clock of the day be the prayers themselves. That means refuse to accept this thing of putting the times of prayer according to the 8 hours a day from this hour to this hour. No. Adopt that view of the all Bedouin. When I first went to UAE, well, the second or third. I wasn't the first. The first time I traveled with Shaykh, but this one was, I think I was traveling alone or with somebody, some other fakir. And there was a man who was a Qadi of the Sharia court in Abu Dhabi. And he will always give appointments بعد العصر, بعد الظهر, بعد المغرب, after. So he's after Dhuhr, and he will say in which mosque he's going to be. So I will say, he'll say, mosque such and such بعد المغرب, or mosque such and such بعد العصر. And at first it shocked me because he couldn't even care less about the timing. The timing was the prayer. After the prayer. I would say after the prayer. After this prayer, after this prayer, after this prayer. In time, I tend to love this notion that instead of using watches, you use the prayer as an indicator. Somebody will argue, but that's such a waste of time because you can do it minute by minute, and there are things that they are regulated by the minutes, etc. Well, let the things that they need minutes to go with the minutes, but appreciate the fact that still we are the center, and to us Maghrib indicates a moment, and to have the meeting after Maghrib is different than to have it after Asr, and even to have it after Subuh is different than having it after Isha. The meeting is different, and there are certain meetings you have to have in the morning and certain you can have at night, and they are not the same. And there are certain subjects you shouldn't cover at night and you should cover during the day. And so Shaykh was fully aware of this. And he would say, don't tell me about this subject. Speak to me about it in the morning. It's amazing. And he was very, very firm on this. As somebody who becomes aware of the day and the meaning of the day and the states you find in, and the person that you're speaking to, in accordance to the time of the day, how beautiful it is. So the inner state is not an optional emotion. There's okay, I planned it. But it's a state of the heart as a makam. So therefore it's not an emotion. You cannot fake it. It's the full understanding of the moment, and to align your heart in the moment that gives meaning to this. It's an inner state, and it results in wisdom. You can't fake it. Otherwise it means the whole notion of it. And then you can understand the aligning, what he calls the governing name of Allah. I mean, for God's sake, all the names of Allah at every given time are in applications. Not what the Shaykh is saying, as some idiots do, is not exclusive. Is that if you can align yourself to that, to the manifestation, for example. Align yourself to the dhahr. You will see something, and then which is aligned precisely at the time of dhuhr. Because there it is, Allah is showing. What do you mean that He doesn't show it? He doesn't say that. He said, be aware of that. Please look. So, what did you say about this notion of the secret of the times? I forgot to remind you that the first section is equally important. You have to go back to the session number 1 and number 2, where the Shaykh speaks about time itself and how do you need to understand it. And then that's the first shock, you realize that with the word time in English, we practically say nothing. It's a bad word. We have to become used to use Waqt, Zaman, and when appropriate, Dhahr. Because that is a name of Allah in itself. So there is an absolute time and there is the relative time. And they say, so all this is relative, you understand? They don't have existence of their own. The Waqt doesn't exist. It's only in relation to the movement of two things, you, static, and something moving, which is the sun. It doesn't have reality. And yet, it's a sign. And it has an effect on you. Okay? But you don't worship the sun, you don't worship the things in as much as you will not worship a nut or an apple or a tree. They don't have reality in themselves. But time has reality in itself. So how about the relativity of Einstein? Which time are you referring to? Because there's time that is relative, the other one is not. But by saying time, he kind of breaks the whole notion of reality and transforms it all in a fantasy, which is what happens and why science hasn't advanced since the coming of Einstein. He just put a lock into the advancements of physics. And it has now entered into a mode of complete self-destruction, but it will be finalized with the coming of AI. AI is going to demonstrate all these things is a waham, pure waham. But that's another subject. So, up until here, the secrets of the time of Salat is a journey within yourself, for yourself, intimate. It belongs to you. You understand as much as you decide to understand. Venture yourself into the suggestions that the Shaykh is saying, and you will find wonders. It will transform you. And honestly, he hasn't even started to speak about Salat. What comes next is what comes before the prayer. Then he will speak about the prayer, the movements, the things we say, etc. But that will take us to next week. Bisirri wa barakati. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.